Well, the same person who sent me an email for the Quick Tip 565 just before this one also had another request, and I thought, why not just do two quick tips from one person? This one, the first question that he asked was about how to do curves in the road. But then he said, do you have any suggestions about getting proportions right? Well, when have I ever been lost for a suggestion? Well, proportions is about size. Now, size is one of our visual elements, but it often gets ignored. Very rarely have I found a teacher that could just teach about size without teaching shape. Usually, shape becomes the thing that gets taught most, but size is so important. And if you understand how to compare sizes, you can get your proportions right. So I want to show you a little system. Now, you might recognize this as being a prospect tool. Well, we're going to use it a little differently. I showed you in really an early video, I don't even remember the number, about the prospect tool and how it can be used, or how it's designed to be used. But we can use it a different way and get our proportions right within our painting. Usually the prospect tool is used for taking the size of one end and then enlarging it or making it smaller with the other. But we're not using it that way this time. We're going to use it just as a proportion finder or a size finder. And I'm going to show you how you can use that, and you can actually get your entire painting in proportion. But I'm also going to show you how to use the little tool I showed you in the previous quick tip for getting those shapes or those sizes aligned. So getting the right size, learning how to compare sizes, not just shapes, but sizes, and learning how to align them, meaning how one is underneath another or how one is aligned horizontally. That will help you to get your proportions right. So it's a little system we use here, and it starts with your reference. So what we do with the reference is that we find a place on the reference, a size. We find a size on the reference that we can always go back to. Now on this reference, I can see that, let me point to this with a pencil. I can see that I can always go back to this little bend, this little turn right here, and I can always go back there, and I can always find that same size. Any place, it doesn't matter what, any place on your reference where there is a size that is not too small and not too large, just intuitively go to a place that you could always go back to and get the same size. So I could go here, for example, and I could adjust the points on my tool so that one is sitting at the end, or at the end of that size, and the other is sitting at the other end. Now here's the thing though. You got to really watch, because if you squeeze your proportional tool, or you're not careful, you will readjust that part. And that's one of the things we have to watch for. It's kind of a little downside. What I think will work is, if once you have adjusted, grab it there at the intersection where the little clamp holds those two together. Now, what are we looking for there? First of all, I'm going to make a mark. You can make the mark anywhere you want to, off your canvas and off your reference. And so I'm going to take this size right here. I'm just going to come right here and make this mark to indicate that size. That's what I need. Now I can go back to that whenever I want to. Now, what am I using that for? I'm using it for comparison so that I can get the proportions you see these tree trunks here are a size that's in relationship to this size. In other words, I can gauge how wide I need to make my tree trunks on my painting by using this size to compare it with. But what I'll need to do before I do that is to go to my painting and determine what size I'm going to need that. Now you see, I already have this much done from the previous quick tip. So I could just go here for this size. So let me see. You see, it's just a little bit bigger. This one is just a little bit bigger. And so what I do is go off the painting, and you might just do that. Put a piece of tape at the top of your painting or whatever. Now, this I can use to compare to know how big I will need, how fat or wide I'll need those tree trunks to be, that group of tree trunks, in order for the tree trunks to be in proportion to the road I've already set. And so now you might say, well, I haven't got anything set yet. Well, then you will start anywhere and just do a drawing of a portion, and then use that size to continue your drawing. So let me show you how that works now. So I'll go back here, I'll readjust this, I come here, and I find that those tree trunks are a little less than half from here to here. You see, from here to here, they're a little less than a half. Let's go readjust it. They're a little less than a half of that width, almost a third. So what I'll do then is I will come over here and I'll locate here where I need to start those tree trunks. So it's about right there. And then I come here, adjust it, and then I'll come to the place I've located. It needs to be a little less than a half. Now that width is in proportion now to the width of the trees here as compared with this width. Now we call this a standard. You can call it anything you want to. I think I've heard people call it a unit. People can call it anything you want. But this is a method that has been used for centuries now by artists to find proportion, just by finding the relationship of one size to another. So let's see how that would work now, because I want to also show you the alignment. Now, now I can just go and I can draw these tree trunks. Let's see. And I can gauge the tree trunks just by looking at the tilt there. And then let me see, I want to see how, now then I can do this. I can take the width of the trunks and I can go up and see, yes, that width decreases in size. You see there? So then I can come here and take the width of the trunk that I have made there, and it decreases in size right there. So then I will know that these tree trunks together decrease in size to about that portion. And then I can look here and I can see that this one is a little bit more, a little bit wider than this one, and it begins about right here. And then I can go up and up and up and up like this and create that space between them. And I have these tree trunks now in proportion to this road right here. You can do that same sort of thing all the way through. So I'm going to go through the image pretty much, well, just getting the major shapes of the image now and show you how you can do that. So let's see, how will I know how far I want these tree trunks to be from the edge here? So I'll go back to my standard and I'll see that the tree trunks are about, that's about 2/3, isn't it, of the standard from the bottom in this proportion right here. So I'll go to this one and adjust it, and then I can make those tree trunks. Now wait a minute, I've got a misleading line here, so let's get rid of that. Get rid of that misleading line, and then we would know that the tree trunks, the bottom of the tree trunks, would be about 2/3, and that's about right here. About right there. See that? So that would be the edge of the canvas. Now you can already see how that begins to fall into place. And then you can if you want to, you can come to this point right here, and gauge how far, it's to go with the standard again, and gauge how far, that's the same as the standard, the top of this hill here to the bottom of the hill. So I could go to this standard now and compare, and I would come up to about right here. Be sure I don't slide that right there. There we go. Now I can see that slopes down, and so it just so happens it slopes down to the tree trunks like that. So we'll have that slope, you see, in proportion to the slope we see. And then we can continue that, watch what's happening with that line and where it goes as far as this section right here is concerned. And we see it really connects about right there and goes into there. See that? And so when you're looking at things, how they connect to each other and their relationship to each other, then things can fall into place. Now, my advice when you're doing landscape, or you're doing anything like that where the relation of size is important to everything, in other words, if you placed it randomly, it wouldn't look right. Then it's a good idea to just build one thing on top of the other and not try to put details in, but go from one thing to another and build it in small sections very simply, so then that you can be sure that everything is in proportion. Now we'll go to these trees. This is what gives people problems. When they see trees in a distance, what size do those trees need to be in relationship to the trees in front? People will often just put things in there and hope it works. Well, that's not really a very good idea. But what we might have to do in this case is we might have to take, it might work better, and it usually does, if you then develop a new standard. In other words, let the tree width of the tree trunk here be your standard. So I'm going to take the width of this tree trunk right there. Now, I'm going to go right up here, and I see that's about a third of my standard up there. So what I'd do here is go to this standard and adjust it to about a third, and then I know that is the width of the tree trunk. Now let's hold that thought right there. So let's take that width now, and let's go back here and look. These three together are the width of this one tree. There is your comparison. That's what you'll need to know how far to put them. So if we go back here, well, we could just actually take the width of this tree, or we could go either way. As long as you're comparing one part to another, then you'll know that these tree trunks right back here, there are three of them. And where are they? They're just a little bit above. There are three of them right there. And they are just about the width together, as this one in front. And then we'll put those in, put space between them, and just sort of throw that. Be sure, double check, be sure they're in proportion, and then just keep going up with them. And then we can begin to look at what's in front. We begin to build then. We can build from this tree trunk to this one. And we'll get those by comparing the size. We'll get those the correct width. See, as you're going up, and continue to build it like that. You can see now how that's beginning to fall into place. Now going again, now we'll locate this. And you see this intersection, the earth right there, falls just below those and connects. Where does it connect? It goes down and connects. So you keep an eye on that. And that helps you then to be sure that you have that in proportion. So you build an area, you put an area in, then go to the area next to it, and then the area next to that, and build it one part at a time by comparing the sizes and also where those sizes are located. Now, you can use your alignment tool. Let's see, we're going to go on the other side just for a moment. I want to carry this one or two steps further to show you how things fall into place. So if I use the alignment, I call this the alignment tool, and I used it in the quick tip, in the previous quick tip, I used it to show the angle of these curves. But now what I can use it for is to show me where these tree trunks align in relation to these tree trunks. So if that one, they're just a little bit below, they're lining themselves just a little bit below, and so does the road. So let's see, did I get that right over there? I got that just a little bit low. So what we'll do there, as this was the previous quick tip where I put that one in, but this is the edit mode. We edit, we don't correct. Just like the editor, did I say that in this one? I say that in the previous quick tip. So I'll take that line away. Now let's get it right this time. Maybe I'm going to go back to the brush to get it this time instead of the pen. All right. So what I'm looking for, not that tool, this tool. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for where the bottoms of those tree trunks align, and they're just very slightly below. So I'll come to this one. Remember, it's all about comparing, and they belong about right there. And that means if you can see where the road belongs just below them, just about right in here. And that now. So if I put these tree trunks in now, beginning right here, and also looking at the width of them, and if I look at the width, I can compare it visually. These, because of their size, are about the same width, or appear a similar width to these in the distance there. So I can just gauge that width and keep going. And then you can continue to find your relationships, your size relationships, by using the tool here to compare the sizes. You don't have to compare every little thing. You get the major sizes located in your painting. You can eyeball everything else. You can compare the sizes visually, and you can compare the size here to here, and here to here, and here to here, and you will have that comparison. If you have a doubt about it, then check it with the proportional tool by adjusting here and comparing to your standard so that you'll know how much more to make it fit into the standard over here. That will give it to you every time. So whether you have a photo this size and you're enlarging it to a 30-inch by 40-inch canvas, it doesn't matter if you use that principle of comparing. Find a standard from the original, and then find that comparative standard to your canvas. So you'll have a standard for your canvas that is in proportion or in relationship the same standard as you are referring to the same image where you got the standard from your reference. I don't think I said that right, but you get the idea. Now, I'm going to say one more thing. That gives you much more flexibility to use the proportional tool, like I just showed you, much more flexibility, because you not only are gauging the sizes, but you're gauging the sizes in relationship to each other. Whereas if you were using it in the way it was intended to be used, it might throw you just a little bit when you start to place it over here. It might throw you just a little bit as to getting how things are aligned with each other. So give that a try. It may feel a little awkward to you when you first start it, but I think as you get into it, if you start with something simple, I think once you get into it, you'll realize that comparing sizes and having a tool to help you to compare those sizes will help you eventually to be able to compare those sizes visually without a tool to help you. Be sure to view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DianneMize.com where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.